Uh, Hello. It is a pleasure to have you in the Italian Americans in Ohio Oral History Project. Can you please tell us your name?
So I'm Rocco Manzo.
Great. Where and when were you born?
I was born in Washington, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh
Uh-huh.
in 1963.
Good. And where did you grow up? In Pennsylvania?
I lived there till I was 5,
Uh-huh.
up in a city called Vestal, New York. It's by Binghamton, New York. And then in high school, moved to Ohio.
Good. So how do you define yourself? I don't know if you have ever, thought about that. So you define yourself Italian, Italian American, American Italian, American of Italian descent, or just American?
Um, I do think of myself as Italian American, but also as Polish American.
Okay. And what do you think about your family name? Do you know stories about the history of the origins of this family name? Has it undergone any changes after the migration to the United States?
From what I know, my name was, our family name was Manzo. I say Manzo.
Yeah.
It should be in Italy, Manzo. And as far as I know, that was Manzo in Italy.
Mhm.
I am a little bit aware of some of the genealogy, and the name Manzo was present before our family came to the US.
Okay, good.
And I
Uh,
know that Manzo means like beef.
yeah, but you don't think it was this way when it was in Italy? It didn't go through any changes after your family moved to the United States?
No, no. I have family members who have changed their name, based on one of my great grandparents came over. I'll give you an example. Their name was Choffi,
Yeah,
Cioffi.
yeah.
Now I have family who go by Choff, Choff.
Yeah, because it's easier probably to pronounce and to spelling stuff.
Yes, but
Okay,
my name has been Manzo.
okay, good. Do you know any stories about your family before they came to the United States?
No. Up until recently, I never had an interest in finding that.
Okay.
That changed for two reasons. I'll expand it. In 2014, I went on my first study abroad experience and was in Europe and in Italy for the first time, and that triggered some interest. That interest has slowly grown, and I'm starting to explore through Ancestry.com and things like that, trying to understand, who these people were, but I don't know anything about them right now.
Good. I mean, great. So you were born in U.S. So you don't know exactly when your family came to the U.S. or where they were from.
I know a little bit on the Italian side. I know the four, great grandparent names. So I'm part Manzo, Cioffi, Vignone, and Manzella.
Mhm.
I know that they are, if not exclusively, mostly from the South.
Mhm.
It appears that Martino Manzo, my great grandfather, is from the Campobasso region of Molise.
Mhm.
And I think that his wife was also from Molise, and I'm going to learn more about the other, my my father's great grandmother. I mean that the my grandmother's side of the family, I need to understand more about where they're from, but my father's side seems to be from Molise.
Okay. Okay.
And it was interesting that I took the 23andMe DNA test.
Mm.
Molise came the strongest
Mm.
match, which was an interesting piece of information.
Yeah. Interesting. And do you know why your parents moved to Ohio?
Yes, my parents moved to Ohio because my father worked for Columbia Gas Company, and he was transferred with his job from first from Pittsburgh to New York to Ohio.
Okay, great. What city in Ohio, if I can ask?
We moved to Perrysburg. It is a suburb of Toledo.
Okay, great. So you mentioned study abroad experiences. Have you ever been to Italy?
Yes, probably 6 or 7 times since then.
Because you're not only, participating, you're leading study abroad programs in Italy, right?
Correct, correct. The first time I went, I was co-leading a study abroad program from the Farmer School of Business
Mhm.
that went to multiple European cities. It was based in Luxembourg, in Switzerland, and in Milan. So when I went to Milan, that was my first time in Italy in 20.
And that's when the interest in your heritage, started maybe.
Started, and I've acted on it very slowly, but I've picked up on it. And maybe I should also mention I'm actually going to pursue potential citizenship
Oh,
based
good.
based on this. It appears from what I read, and I need to get some more advice, that I may qualify based on the lineage, one of the options of how to obtain citizenship.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's possible, and I know that many people, go through this option, and it's doable because Italy doesn't have jus soli, but they have, just like you were born in the United States, you're American. Italy doesn't have that, but they have the jus sanguinis. So if you were born from Italian citizens, you are automatically qualify for getting Italian citizenship. Okay,
Yes.
so do you know about relatives that still live in Italy?
A little bit. Some of my relatives in the U.S. are occasionally in touch with Manzo family in Italy, based in the Lazio, Rome area.
Hmm.
I have not yet explored trying to meet with them, but that's on my agenda.
Okay, good.
Oddly, I am friends with a bunch of Manzos, but we are not related. Connection through Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Young man who's now, I believe, 19 years old, friended me from a photo named Rocco Manzo.
Yeah,
We are both born on Christmas Day. We are both have grandparents named Rocco Manzo. My dad's also Rocco Manzo, and I am now a de facto member of their family, even though we are not known to be related. I've been to see them 4 or 5 times now.
good. What traditions or costumes have you made an effort to preserve?
None.
Okay, and
I can't say that we do anything that I am aware of
mhm.
that came from our family in Italy.
Okay. So you didn't have, for example, big family gatherings or specific Italian dishes or something that you did back in the past with your family.
No,
Mm.
not really. Maybe you could say Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
had fish, and so forth. But it's been lost a little bit. When my father was growing up, they had 7 fishes, a more of a traditional
Uh-huh.
Italian meal for Christmas Eve. And the town that he grew up in Pennsylvania, it's called Elwood City, Pennsylvania, was a very Italian town. Every name on the street, every house had Italians, not every, but a very high percentage of the people in this town were Italian. So that town has a big Sons of Italy
Mm.
lodge, and everybody belonged to that. And there was the Italian church and all of this. But since he moved away from there, and my mother is not Italian.
Yeah,
I would say that a lot of that has been put aside.
I see. And of course, maybe in Toledo, you didn't end up in a neighborhood that had many Italians, maybe.
True. And in upstate New York, we had some. We had in upstate New York, had a fair number of Italians, but it just seemed like this was not something that seemed to be important to my father. It seems maybe he's my interest is sort of piquing. They're still living. My interest is piquing his interest, but there was not a lot of. I can't say we have a lot of Italian traditions.
Okay.
I mean, like he makes at Christmas the cookies.
Well, that makes even more relevant, your interest in this heritage if it's, not
Yeah.
spurred by family and family traditions.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
he makes pizzelles. I guess that's Italian. He
Oh,
makes pizzelles
yeah.
for Christmas as well. But
Absolutely. So, do you participate here in Ohio to Italian festivities, festivals, or activities related to Italian American culture?
not in Ohio. I don't know much about what's here in Oxford. There's not much. Cincinnati has a little.
Mm.
When I had moved back to Pittsburgh when I was still working and before I came to teach, there were a couple of towns in Western Pennsylvania that have San Rocco festivals.
Okay.
I've been to those, which are interesting, and there'd be one neighborhood in the city of Pittsburgh would have a mass followed by a little parade where St. Rocco would be paraded through the streets, and people would attach dollars
Mm-hmm.
to his
Mm-hmm.
luck, I guess. And then there was a festival and fireworks and all of this. And then another one in a suburb of Pittsburgh had some similar activities. But really can't say that I do a lot of activities on Italian culture and heritage.
Yeah. And it's hard in Oxford because there is not so much in Oxford for
Right.
American people. Do you speak Italian?
I speak a little, not as well as I should, considering how many classes I've taken.
So you started, learning Italian from scratch in class, or did you know some Italian before?
Almost exclusively in class. I knew only words here and there.
Okay.
Whatever my father would occasionally say, like aspet. That's about
it. Every now and then. Okay. And if you learn Italian at school, what was your motivation to study the language?
Part of it was my heritage. Part of it was my interest in the study abroad and being more able to communicate when I'm in Europe.
Yeah.
So I've actually taken more than just Italian classes at Miami. I've taken classes in German.
Uh-huh.
I've completed the 100 level in German, Italian, French, and Spanish.
Oh, good.
So.
Yeah. And so I think you already answered this question, but do you have any special foodways tradition in your family related to Italian culture, aside from what we have discussed already?
I don't think so. Just a few recipes handed down to my dad from his grandmother, lasagna. I can't even, like it's like almost a stereotypical Italian American thing to have pasta on Sunday or something like that. And we used to do that a long time ago, but that is no longer a big focus.
Okay. And do you have any family heirlooms or keepsakes or mementos? If you do, are there any connected to particular histories? Just like, for example, I remember I interviewed two sisters, and they showed me a bracelet that one of their, uncles or great uncles in Italy was supposed to give to his fiancée, and then he died in World War II, so he didn't have the chance, and so they keep, this bracelet as a remembrance of that event, something like this.
Yeah, not really. There's really no physical connection between even my grandparents, who were both from the U.S., and me. So no, I would say there's no family heirlooms on my Italian side.
So not even photo albums, scrapbooks, diaries, or etc.
Some photos, but I have no photos beyond my grandparents.
Uh-huh.
So I may have one or two photos of my great grandfather from the U.S.
Okay.
and I'm the family, you know, caretaker of all this. I have a greater interest in it than my parents,
Hmm.
so I've been really active in putting some photo albums together and so forth, and writing the names down and making copies of it electronically and all that kind of thing.
Very good. So, can you please describe the place, I mean, the urban neighborhood in Toledo where you grew up? What was it like? And did you have the chance to go back there? And do you think it changed over the years?
Well, let me say a couple things
Yeah.
because you said I grew up in Toledo. I actually
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the city. You said it was near Toledo, but I don't remember.
Harrisburg, but that was only from 10th grade through 12th grade.
Ah, okay.
The place I sort of identified with growing up more was Vestal, New York, a town outside Binghamton, New York, which is a
Okay.
college. I lived there for 10 years from kindergarten to 10th grade.
Hmm.
Um, it was a suburban experience in a middle class, maybe eventually upper middle class experience. My parents had it was their first time to move away from Pittsburgh, which was the source of their Italian. You know, my dad and his Italian connections, and my mom and her Polish family roots. So when we got to New York, really was just in a blending melting pot suburb where there were many people, including some professors in our neighborhood who worked at the time was called SUNY Binghamton, now just Binghamton University. So we had people of all ethnic backgrounds in our neighborhood. And other than an occasional meeting where there was an adjacent town to us, which was sort of known as the Italian town, even though we had plenty of Italians in our neighborhood, uh, we would maybe go there for a better meal at an Italian restaurant, or friends of friends had family from Pittsburgh that were in this Italian town, and we went there one time for Christmas Eve just to experience a more traditional Italian meal.
Hmm.
But growing up, it was very, I guess I'd say, bucolic. It was all the kids would just be outside and playing and
Yeah.
just very family oriented. And when I've been back there, it looks the same. It's just very quiet. The number of students or kids who are outside is nowhere near what it was. Either there's less of them right now because we were sort of in a boom, the end of the boom of baby boom, and then frankly, just it's not the same now where people just go outside and we would do unstructured activities and have actually too many people for a game of soccer or baseball when
Yeah.
now there's nobody on the fields. So
Very good. And so you said the place where you grew up was a mixed neighborhood, so there was not specifically or predominantly Italian, right?
no, it was a mix.
Uh, did you experience directly or indirectly, or maybe you heard of some form of discrimination of Italian Americans?
I've heard of it. I I experience a little bit, very, very, very indirect, and nothing that has ever been something that uh, prevented me from accomplishing something.
Hmm.
But based on my name and in any time in the U.S. culture that there's a character named Rocco in a movie or on a TV program, Rocco usually does something bad. Rocco Rocco is a criminal. Rocco is a tough person who beats people up. Rocco does these kinds of things. And it really couldn't be more different than my natural personality. It's a 180 from me.
Yeah,
So I hear, and I wouldn't call it discrimination, I just call it stereotypes, is,
yeah.
uh, you know, an excessively large number of people, especially in the past, when I would meet them, they would say, "Oh, you don't look like Rocco," or I didn't expect Rocco to look like you," and this continued all throughout my life, even to today with my students. So there is this expectation of some sort of, I don't know, maybe stocky, older, stocky, more dark Italian, quote, maybe Southern Italian stereotypically looking guy
Yeah.
who is rough and so forth. So, and I was a valedictorian in my high school. I was completely the opposite of this. And so for me, that's always been partly amusing and maybe at times annoying, but
Yeah.
never was discriminated against because of my name or my heritage. In fact, sometimes people mix up. I should tell you, there is a little bit of an assumption in some places that I could be Hispanic. People get mail. And I know everybody might get a little bit of this, but I get more than my friends. Like from Spectrum Cable or from various utilities or banks, and I get it in Spanish because they think I may be Hispanic. Up to even when I was a student one time at Miami, I'm pretty sure I was invited to a recruiting event in Cleveland at a bank there because I think they thought I was the only non-minority person there.
Oh, yeah.
It was all African-American students and Hispanic students. And I'm pretty sure that I was invited because I had good grades, but also because of their belief that I might have been Hispanic.
Yeah.
Really, no, I've never been. I know of families, it's all third party hearsay, but I know people who've had to change their name.
Mm.
I had friends in New York whose last name was White and their name used to be Bianchi. And they've just felt that was important because at that time that would enable them to get a job.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Yeah, this is very true. And so no names calling, just like, they go up and stuff like this. Never happened to you,
No.
people you have heard.
If anything, that would even come from the Italians themselves.
Okay, yeah.
They
Maybe
would joke. Yeah.
playful, joking.
Yeah. Absolutely joking. No discrimination.
Good.
I tell you that one place I also experienced a fair amount of Italian culture was in Rochester, New York. I lived there from 1989 after grad school. For the first 9 years I worked at Xerox, and that has also a significant Italian population. Again, however, I didn't really take advantage of it in day-to-day life, but it really influenced, like they would say some phrases. I don't even know what they are, and I'm reluctant to repeat them because I don't think some of them are, but some things in Rochester I would hear I'd never heard anywhere else, and there was all these Italians who would say these things, and there was a significant Italian heritage in Rochester, New York.
Yeah. So are you a member of an Italian American association?
No, some of my family members have been members of the Sons of Italy Lodge, which is back in Elwood City, Pennsylvania. I am not.
Okay.
I see these places largely now as mostly just social clubs.
Yeah.
Whereas at one time they were really more central to the community in providing cultural support, insurance, support for all sorts of things for a community that may felt in some cases, discriminated against, or that they needed that support as they were new to the U.S. But I've had some experience of going to the Sons of Italy, and it's just like I feel like I'm just at a bar in some cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to Dayton for one of these annual, Italian festivals, and a lot of food. There's music, people dancing, but not much more than that. I mean, just a social gathering at this point. So
My father says the Sons of Italy was a really big deal. Like I can't express, and they would have Italian. I mean, some fairly significant pop, performers would come, to these places. I mean, it was not just a little social place. These were big. I can't stress enough how big it was at that time in the, I guess, 40s, 50s, whatever.
I see. So, and according to you, what is the image of Italy and Italians in the United States nowadays? Do you think it's accurate?
I don't know. I think it's less stereotypical, you know, the old stereotype of mafia and, you know, just, you know, good food, good wine. I think as our culture has developed and our culture has tried to even take a better appreciation of diversity within the US, I think there is a reluctance and to stereotype other cultures. I would say that the negative stereotypes, however, have largely been just replaced with, I don't want to say ignorance, but just there's still, I don't think there's a huge awareness of what Italian culture is about for people who have not taken the time to venture to Europe or take Italian classes. And, you know, there are certainly maybe some preconceived notions of that we've explored it in our Made in Italy class of, you know, what kind of products are made in Italy, what kind of quality products are made in Italy, what maybe the Italian family is like. But I would say there's probably just a gap of understanding, which may be better than a misunderstanding or negative stereotype. But
Oh, yeah.
I really, I really think largely you know, the 70s and 80s to me were maybe a heyday of just openly talking, maybe up to the 70s and, you know, and prior to the 70s of just outwardly talking about these, you know, phrases like you mentioned, Dago and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff, or just the caricatures on TV and dramas and comedies. You just don't see that as much anymore, both because of you know, a politically correct environment as well as just a better understanding of what things are really like.
It's unfortunately true, and there was, a study that has been made in the 1980s that 2 out of 3 representations of Italians or Italian Americans in American media were usually negative. As you said, connected to mafia or people of low-paying jobs, low intelligence, that kind of thing. It's disappearing, but there is still, there's until a few years ago there were still the Sopranos. So
Yeah, true.
yeah, and stuff like Jersey Shore probably is not very
Yeah, I
helpful.
think there's even Manzo. I was told there are Manzos in like Housewives of New Jersey or something, but I've never watched the show, so I don't know who they are.
Okay,
I
so
have, I have friends who live in New Jersey. They say Manzo is like the name Smith in New Jersey. I don't know.
okay, so last question: do you have children, grandchildren, or nephews or nieces?
None of the above.
None of the above. Okay,
I have no brothers and sisters.
okay.
No, I do not.
Okay, so, but, in case you are thinking about, transmitting, I would say, your heritage, what part of your heritage would you like to pass on to someone, if any?
I don't yet feel like I've got enough of a grasp on it to pass anything significant down, to be honest with you. I think that it's something I want to do. Like as I said, I'm the sort of the caretaker of the scrapbooks. I hope to find some family members, you know, cousins and cousins' children to give those things to, and maybe in my next set of years, and I don't know when I'm going to do this, but I'm hoping to spend some significant chunks of time in Europe, and in Italy, and I'm not sure yet exactly how and when and where I'm going to do that, but it's on my radar screen. So maybe that will develop more into some sort of legacy or things to pass down once I get more familiar with my own Italian experience and familiar with Italian culture through having spent more time there.
Very good. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for accepting to be part of the project.
Oh, you're welcome.